Good morning.
Good morning. I'm just looking here, the discussion on Monday afterwards, after Dini left. I don't know if you were there or not, but some people pointed out that there was a difference between elements in things and process, and Dini was talking about process. So I'm now looking at, because you talked about the whole writing the thesis statement, which is not a thing, it's a process. So I'm just looking now, doing some research on how different academic communities write their papers. So I'll try to put that into our mix. Anyway, how are you?
Very good, very good.
Good. So yeah, we don't have to do that much this morning. We do have another 2 meetings today, but a few questions on uploading the JSON.
Yes.
Should we maybe make this part of the recording public so that you kind of teach me?
Up to you, yeah.
Okay, so good morning. Let's go through what it means to upload a JSON to our environment. If you could take it from the very top, please.
So my understanding is somebody who wants to write an academic document starts in author and they are writing at least a sentence, let's say. And then they feel, I guess, constrained by the lack of space of no matter how big their screen is, but still a flat screen, and they want to dive on their topic and their content to author in XR. So they would save, as per usual, their document, but they would also export to XR from there. And there, what I would expect is that however it's done, then there is a public URL with a JSON when somebody hits that URL. So let's say if it's futureoftext.org/test number 3.json, then the JSON is there and there is some text in it, or literally anything really. And what I suggested, it's literally just the JSON, because sometimes when one use Google Cloud or Nextcloud or WordPress or whatnot, then there is a little header on top that say, hey, welcome to whatever solution, click here to download. The problem is because we'll do it programmatically, we cannot easily and reliably click on that download button. Whereas if it's just the JSON, and when you open in the browser, it looks a little bit, it looks like code, basically. That's what we want. So I think that's the goal there. And then we can go back to the discussion of last week on how to program a filter. When we would do is, we'll make a new filter. So that's why I'm saying we don't have to be so strict about what's in the JSON. If something is missing, or if there is too much, we ignore it. So that's never a problem. Assuming the file is not like 100 megabyte, but in that example context, it doesn't sound realistic. So let's say if we have a normal few kilobyte size JSON, we get it, we load it automatically from the prototype, the experiments, and then we do whatever we want with it. But that's the next step. But it must be the crucial part is that it must be just the JSON. And how it's done, the specific, once you're in author and how the export to XOR part happens, it's not the concern of the prototype. It can be with FTP, because I understand that might be something you already have in place. It might be with SCP, it might be with WebDAV, it might be with... It really doesn't matter. And also there is no rush, let's say, because typically if you upload or you do export to XR and you use it right away, maybe it's problematic because maybe it needs half a second even, and it's not there yet. But just the fact of like physically taking the headset on and then clicking the URL, even if you're super fast, it takes at least a second. And by that, if it's a kilobyte, then in 99% of cases, in our, again, texting context of being with a good, reliable, fast connection, that's going to be enough time. So,
okay.
Any question?
I'll show you the export now and what we get, and then I have a question regarding what you just said. So here we are in author. We go to export, and we have an option also export JSON file. It's not its own thing at the moment. So here's a PDF as expected, and then we wait a little bit. It's generating the JSON, and I save that. Open that with BB Edit, and here's the JSON. So it already has some visual meta introduction at the top here. I think we should be careful, but maybe expand that, and that's where we put what this is, right? So the JSON becomes a bit self-explanatory, or what?
At that stage, it doesn't worry me as much as that the file is actually online, because here it's exported, but it's exported on your computer.
Yeah, so that's an important issue. So now we're going to do this. This is obviously not the real way. I just want to see if I can do this. Publish, and then review post. Oh, that's weird. I can't see it.
Me neither.
Oh, okay. So we go, oh, okay, upload. It wants to do it this way. Do JSON that way. Oh, you're not allowed to upload this type. Okay, so it would have to be an FTP, like you said, which should be easy for us because we do have HTML and WordPress publishing. It's not perfect, but it's there. There it is. So this is the normal, the headings are a bit of an issue. You can see they're a bit weird, but
that's not JSON anymore.
No. I'm just saying that we have the capability to upload to WordPress. So I can see if we can change the setting to allow for JSON. So it's absolutely not ready yet. Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. So,
if you have uploading to FTP, and the FTP shows the result as a website, even if it's very, what's the name? Rough. Again, there is no interface around it. That's probably going to be the most efficient way or the easiest way. Otherwise, honestly, because maybe I misunderstood. Otherwise, if you go on companion.benito.fr.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm just checking this. I don't think we're going to use Dropbox, but let me send you a Dropbox link. Yeah, Dropbox does all kinds of interface around it. Okay, companion. Yeah.
So you go get your JSON and you name it test export.json. Yeah. And then you drag and drop in the top right corner. I think you need to be focused on the window for this to work, but not sure how that. Maybe it will. You show the. No. Has to be on the text, I think. Yeah. But if you look on the console, it should tell you, because normally I should receive a notification Wait. So let me double check, but I guess it's enough. Where was I? Yes, it is there. So because I thought export was to FTP was already, I guess, in a different state. But then that sounds, yes. Let's do that. So if now I show you, but here I have this. And actually, okay, what would be best is what's the JSON there that you export? How do you normally call it?
Hang on a second.
Like author export or?
No, it would be the name of the document. Okay.
No, but I mean, I don't. That's not what I meant. Let's say the file type.
JSON.
Right, but it's more than okay. It is JSON indeed, but more specific than this, it is, let's say, JSON export from author. Or is it like visual meta from author export?
When you're saying what I call it, what do I call it where?
I guess when you talk with it with your developers.
So you're meaning just a spoken name for it. You're not talking about any written title, document title, or anything like that.
Okay, let me give you an example, I guess.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat. But for example, here you were authoring about architecture in XOR, let's say. So the title would be architecture in XOR. And then when you export, maybe it's architecture in XOR. But then maybe what we call it is visual meta export.json. I put an example in the chat. And why do I ask you this? Is because then from the .json ending, we know it's JSON, but from the .visual meta export, then we know what will be some of the structure of the JSON, and then we can show it. But it means instead of using FTP and WordPress and whatnot, which to be honest, like I said, I worried with the header when you export it. It adds a bunch of stuff, which when you publish for human readers without an interface, it's good, but in our context, it's not good.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It exports as proper text. That's not the issue. But the naming issue, now that I understand what you mean, is very important. So I have a related issue that I didn't think would be relevant until now, until later, but it is. So, as you know, in Author, I can link to other documents. This is very, very useful. The work I'm doing for us now, I have several documents linked, and as a user, it just looks like an underlined word. I click on it, it instantly opens the document it's linked to. This is a problem because when I export not just with the title of the document, but also the username and the date and the second it was done, so that I can do easy versioning. However, if I'm going to build a uploader to WordPress or something else, if I want to upload linked documents, they have to have consistent names, obviously. So they can't have uploaded at 325 and then suddenly 326 or whatever, right?
I have yes, all this makes sense to me. The thing is, for the 16th, I think a lot of those concerns are they are not within that.
I agree, but what you're doing here is a fix. So if I'm not going to do any of this, maybe even this year, it's just a logical thing I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
So if I export, when I do that, it cannot export with the author name and type and time. It has to export with just the document name. It's the only way it can be stable to know it's linking to another of the same type, right? So,
well, I mean, I'm not sure because what do you mean by export then? To me, export is when you send it to another solution. So anybody but author. You export for here the prototype, or for, I don't know, anything else really. So it's kind of assumed, sadly, but pragmatically, that some of the features specific to author, for example, will not be available on exported one.
Right. So what I'm thinking about here is the thing that I needed to know today is when I put on the headset, after I have uploaded a JSON, that whatever I go into in the headset needs to know where that JSON is.
No.
Well, no, I'm not talking about a drag and drop. I'm talking about if I FTP it from author.
Can we not do that? Can we like do the drag and drop?
Yeah, but hang on a second. Yeah, sure, especially for the 16th. But let me just, there's some wrinkles here I need to understand. One of the ways we could maybe do this, I think, is we take the URL to our knowledge space XR system / and then we add the URL to the JSON. That might be one way, right?
Please repeat, because I don't understand.
If we upload the JSON to a place which is not on the same server as the code,
yes,
then the code needs to know where the JSON is. So a potential way is you do companion / and then the URL of the JSON. So when the companion gets the data, it says, oh, here's another URL at the end. I should go have a look.
So a query parameter.
Yeah.
Like in the URL, there is the companion, and then when you open it, you say, hey, I opened that document, and here is where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's one way of doing it, which may or may not be. Actually, what do you think about that approach? Obviously, it would be slightly more complicated because you have a user parameter in there as well.
That's okay. It's not the issue. The issue is mostly it's called CORS, and it's security. And if your server is, if the server where the file is hosted is configured the right way, it's instantaneous. I don't have anything to do. It's easy. If it's not, it's a huge mess for both of us. So that's why I'm kind of insisting that, let's say, literally today, you make whatever that visual meta export.json and you drag and drop it. And then I display something on the screen. And once we have this, everything else, let's say, is an improvement on it. It doesn't mean let's stop there, but it means at least for the 16th, we can demonstrate the workflow that you described earlier. Otherwise, if we postpone and maybe FTP doesn't work and there is a server error and whatnot, which again sadly does happen, then it makes the whole demo much riskier. So I'm not saying once we have, let's say, drag and drop like this working, let's stop there. But if we do, or rather, once we have that working, again, the how it's done using FTP or something else. Of course, if it's done one click from author and we just put the headset on rather than drag and drop, I think it's nicer. But the work still of, let's say, writing a filter to interpret the JSON exported from author will still have to be the same. So that's why.
Question. I agreed with everything you said. I'm wondering if it's worth on my end doing a test, FTP test, where the way it is, I'm assigned a user ID like any user would be. So Frode Hegland 2025, whatever it might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
The upload is always going to be, my JSON document will always be called that. It will not, in the future, it can be that /manuscript /library, but for now, it's just that. That means that wherever I upload it, as long as it's somewhere that's useful for the system, it'll see, excuse me, that this is here and it will load it. When the session is done and it keeps writing, it might write something like the user ID -new, something that simple, or date, whatever. So that in the distant future, my software can check, is there something that's called new of this that we should look at?
But I think it's a different step, because again, when you export, maybe it's never imported back.
Yeah, no, for now, absolutely. 100%. Even this entire year. I'm just thinking about the kind of logic that what we do, the name of the JSON is not about the document, it is about the user. So it's expected to be a channel rather than a description of, this is Frode's document written on Monday about stars or whatever, right?
But maybe I misunderstand. I think what you're describing is the workflow of something that has been exported, then gets imported again after a change in another system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the coming back to author, I really don't care about now at all. It was more a notion that using that the JSON name is an ID for, excuse me, a user. And when there's been done something in the system, I think I'm saying the same thing you said, is in the same FTP server, but it has an appended N or new or date or whatever it is, so that the original system can feel, sorry, that was a weird message. It just needs to know it's different. Anyway, that's not the real point. The real point is, if I can make it so it's no effort for you, really, a little bit, that there's a one-click button in author to FTP the document with my user ID. Does it really matter to you whether it's uploaded to, for now, your server, our server, any server?
In the ideal scenario, it should not, but like I mentioned with course and and usually, so FTP, it's enough to send the file, but it doesn't make it available. So typically you would have FTP and then HTTP. So for example, WordPress frontend or just the raw file, which to be honest would be best. And that is also another part, which again is not a problem, but it has to be set up, and that has to be set up with course enabled either for my server only, like companion, and for any server, which I think is fine again in that prototyping context. But it's something you'll have to do. Whereas right now, what I'm suggesting is you export the file exactly as you have. You change the name to the one I put there, or you just append, or you export to visual meta export.json instead of the file name you have currently. We just rename it like on your desktop, I mean, and then you drag and drop, and I think that's enough, because when you start the experience with the right URL, the experience, the prototype will just check what is the latest visual meta export.json file added, and I display it. Or, as you suggested, if there is a specific file name in the URL as a query parameter, then that's the one we use, because maybe we want to use an older file. But that means basically no development work or configuration or setup from your side, and it would work today.
Okay, so I fully agree with everything you said. We're going to do exactly that. I would like the name of the file to be different, though.
Oh, it's up to you.
Cool. I would like the name to be userid.json. The actual word, the actual word user ID, not
Yes.
Frode Hegland, user ID, in order to show people watching that in the future, via FTP or whatever, it would be something like that. What do you think?
But we already have this. There is the username, and when you do username, it prefix any file you upload with this. So that's not a problem. The part that I'm kind of insisting on is the visual meta export.json.
Why do you want visual meta export?
Well, it can be potato export. It can be even like I like bananas.json. But if ideally there is a part in it that says I'm this specific type of JSON, not a JSON related to subtitles, as I was showing 2 days ago or yesterday, I don't remember. It has to be a hint at how the file will be structured. And if it's in the file name, it's easier. It can be parsed inside the JSON.
Oh, no, that's fine. You sold me. I get it. Okay, so we're going to write this now. I'm going to share screen with you because I don't like to do things more than once. So I'm writing this for the guys to code what's going on with this page. This is, here we go. Author Mac OS. On export to JSON, file name needs to be. So the first bit matters, right?
Yeah, but it's up to you. It can indeed be the user ID with even the date, whatnot. That's fine. What's important, I mean, you don't even have to change this. What you have now, if you like it, don't change it. But the ending of being like visual meta export to JSON, I think it's useful.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. You explained that perfect. That's absolutely important. But the first bit, shall we make that?
But show me the first bit at the moment, please. You exported already something before.
I think I put that in Dropbox. That's it.
No, but yes, but we renamed it for this. Before you exported something, and I think the one you had was okay.
Just make a new one.
Yeah. And the user can change it actually.
So the PDF, they can, and now it's the name of the document, the JSON. So you'll see here, this is the name.
Can you? Yeah, thank you. So that does it has slash in the name?
Yeah, which is not clever for something that's going online, is it?
For anything, it's forbidden in different file systems. So I don't recommend that, but it's okay. I've never seen that before. So I think it's very much a Mac specific thing. So for you, I guess it's fine. Yeah, just instead of having exported as file name.json, file name.visual meta export.json, but keep it as is. There is no, it's not a problem to, it's less work. I mean,
Shouldn't show.
typically it's underscore instead of.
Yeah, no, this is obvious. I just hadn't paid attention to it before.
And what is it actually? Because the first part of the file name I get, so the year, month, day, and that's the timing, I guess?
Yeah.
Timing with slashes. Usually it's double dots, I guess.
Yeah. So we don't know what we're doing. Right. Okay. So JSON export refinement. So there's a couple of things. Are we just going to, what?
I would just say it has to be ending with visual meta export.
No, but in order for it to be dragged up and to be available in the environment, doesn't the whole thing need to be a uniform name?
It doesn't matter.
So user ID, it can be document name, right?
Yes, it's up to you. And normally, typically, the information will be in the file itself. So that's why I don't really, it will probably be ignored.
I don't do any typos.
But I know, for example, that the slash backslash kind of thing will fail.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so an export JSON document name period visual meta export.json, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then I have another really important question.
But just to be clear, let's say if the demo of the 16th is the 16th of this month, I would say you export as you did now, you rename it whatever, let's say architecture in XR, dot visual meta export the JSON, and then you drag and drop it. And I think, like, I don't think anybody watching or participating to the demo would be shocked by that. Like, people rename files all the time, so that's not like super complex.
I'm going to export this large one while we're talking. By the way, we now have, just for testing purposes, we have color keywords in author with your own lists. So for instance, I just have PDF and Doug Engelbart. So now I'm going to export this. And this is a large document. This is 70,000 words. But what should go in the JSON is, of course, an interesting issue, because ideally we'll have the body text, the references, the map. We may also want to have a color keyword thing. So when the user opens it, it's the same keywords for the same colors, right?
Yeah. They can't be too much, to be honest. And we did test, I don't know if you remember, but months ago, you can put GLTF or GLB inside the JSON. You can put a JSON each JSON. You can put like a ton of stuff in there. The only thing then that would be different is if it's big, then you don't expect the file to necessarily be ready because the upload time just that. But beside that, I would say don't do anything special. Export whatever you want, because at worst we ignore 99% of it, and then we start manipulating, and that's.
So the way this is now, one of the things that's exported, by the way, so this thing here, BibTeX self-citation, that's obviously not a standard name, but it's something that your filter could deal with, right?
Yes.
Right. So it has file.
That when we do, or when I start to do writing a filter about this file format, then I do it, I record it so that it can be, others can learn how to do it.
Right, cool. So it has the file name in here for the PDF that's associated with it. So that means that if that is also uploaded, then you can use that in one of your XR views if we want to, right?
But you see, it doesn't have the same file name. Here it's double dot, not slashes.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really.
I'm not trying to nitpick. It's just that if
No, it's super useful. I get it. I just haven't paid attention. Absolutely. So I'll put that in here so it's the same. Thank you for that, for being eagle-eyed.
Well, but yes, sorry to interrupt. If assuming that it is indeed matching and uploaded, it is actually something I'm kind of doing on the reference card that Mark edited. That if that file is accessible, then we can potentially try to load it and display it. So yes, it is something we can check. Basically, I try to fetch it, and if it works, then we're like, oh, new functionalities available.
Cool. So yeah, that's very cool. What am I doing? Okay. So this is me working on our presentation as a draft for us to discuss. And I have here the map. By the way, the outline thing now is just so cool. So it finds your names. Anyway, go back to the map. So it has a few relationships, very simple. Let's export this as well, because the other one is just taking too long. While that's happening or not, I think the structure we talked about is Dini introduces the project, the work, the context, all of that. And then you do the presentation, and I can maybe run the headset. And there's a few things we need to present. We need to say what the elements are. So for instance, what it's made up of. This is what we discussed. And I'm now working today on.
This is probably okay. We need to reconcile the theory of the thing just written last week versus the things implemented in code for the last 5 months. because it's
yeah, you need to basically teach us the language you use in the code. It's easier that way.
okay.
Yeah, so we'll have a session on that, absolutely. But what I mean is simple things like we know that there can be pictures and charts, like just that level. But then, by the way, today I'll be working on the rooms. That's what I currently call it. I have the difference between a room and a layout. Is a room has different things. Layouts are the same things in different configurations. The reason for that is you will maybe have a read and annotate room, an organizing room, a writing room, that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's not waste time on that now. Because here is, oh yeah, here's that JSON. That's not that JSON, hang on. This is a bit weird. Didn't I save? Oh yeah, sorry, this is it. This is that, but it has, yeah, this does not include the map. The map is obviously I can easily export it, but this is the map. Should I, in order for the map to be included with a regular JSON, should I just basically have this automatically be appended? And if so, if it's appended, how should they be connected? What should be the header or whatever?
I don't think you can append it. You would have to append it before the last curly braces. Yeah, and you would have to name it. Let's say, for example, map dot map double dot, and then the rest. And,
just tell me.
Dictate. Yeah. So no, delete this. Add a comma, double quotes, map, double dot. After no. So remove the dots, and then after the double quote. Yes, but after the double quotes. Voilà. And normally, if you save it, that's okay. Well, and then there are JSON verification online tools, so you can see. But normally, that one is in that one basically, and you can do the same for more stuff.
So this is the glossary.
Yeah, same comma and then double quotes, glossary, and then after it double dots.
It would be good if I spelt it correctly. I think that's it. That should be empty. Right. Okay, so JSON export refinement. What is happening to this Jira page today? Oops, that's not what I wanted. Come on, what are you talking about? There's a map in here. Okay, does this look correct? Can I send you this JSON for verification?
Please upload it, just like drag and drop before. And maybe you name it like full visual meta export or something, just to differentiate that the previous one didn't have those extra sections.
Visual meta is one word, right?
I see. You decide.
No, you're the one who told me what it should be. Yeah, visual meta export. Full dot visual meta export dot JSON, right?
Yeah.
And uploading it now.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, it's 9 kilobytes, so it's not too huge. Is there anything you want to add to the header for this? So that
No. Looks clear. I just tested, it works. So I think for everything else, it's more like, what do we manage to show from it that then become authorable or editable, because we are not showing a viewer, so people need to then be able to do something with it. So I think there is a lot of stuff there already.
okay, well, that sounds like fun. Now, final question on this topic. At the top here, we have keywords, concepts, and names, and they're empty. Do these boxes indicate that that's where it would be, or what's the point
Yes.
of this?
That's a list of whatever would be there.
Okay. Should I export those?
If you want them to be usable in XOR, yes.
Let's not do that now. What do you think?
It's your problem to be upfront. Namely, if it's there, I might be able to use it, and then you might be able to play with it, but maybe it's going to take way too long. If it's not there, I obviously won't. That being said, if you believe suddenly, let's say on the 15th, I don't suggest that, but let's imagine on the things like, oh, brilliant idea, we must have those keywords there. Honestly, copy paste it manually yourself, and that's okay. It's honestly, conceptually speaking, it's not crucial that this exported in it yet.
Okay, so fine. I think that was a very useful session. And I'm writing this kind of proposal, walkthrough, whatever, for the 16th from one perspective. I'm not really talking about the ring. So we need to have a session where we talk about how to show the ring interactions. I'm only focusing on layouts and views.
Okay.
So we'll do one step at a time.
I think what we'll have to do is, let's say next week, or even today, if we want, we can try. But it's we do a mock or a dry run. We try to see what we can show, and then we see, oh, we absolutely must show that thing, or let's not show this because it doesn't make sense to anybody yet. And then we can do this like even once a week if we believe that's crucial. And out of this, then the rest will fall like, oh, we actually need that JSON, or we don't. So.
Sorry, Emily just sent me a message. She's stuck on a train. Yeah, we can do that. First of all, in order for me to think better, there will be some situations where we want to be in a Dini gray space. There will be situations we want to be in a conference room where there are panels that you can throw things to. These are very different. What do we call these two different things? can we call them rooms, or do you have a different nomenclature for that?
So I think at some point we should draw. I don't know if we should do this right now, but we should basically have an ontology of the words we're using, and maybe the difference when there are the technical implementation of it. Like for example, scene. We're talking about how it's implemented in frameworks like Three.js or A-Frame. Is there a single scene per whatever, like an experiment or prototype? Is a room the 3D version of the scene, or like this kind of thing? I think need to be if we're to, but yeah.
This is what I have here. Scene is everything. A room is a version of a scene which can have many layouts. So if you're in a conference room, you can have all the papers there or all the papers there, etc., saved. If you want to go from a conference room to the moon, because it's different objects in the room, you change rooms.
So, but then another way to ask is what is common between rooms that are part of the same scenes? Is it, for example, the UI?
The scene I see as basically, quote unquote, the piece of software. It's the whole thing. So yeah, rooms can have different UIs, I guess, at certain point. But it's just when you load into knowledge-base.info or whatever, let's pretend we have a domain.
Oh, then above the scene, then there is the page.
Page?
Yes.
What do you mean by page?
Like HTML page.
You
If
mean
you go to the URL companion.benito.f4, you get the page, and that includes the scene. And for example, because on it you have the you just used it before the 2D UI where you drag and drop, for example, content.
okay, that's cool. I'm glad to have that here.
But I would add then it's a bit like the filter converters distinction. It's kind of you could have multiple scenes per page. We decide not to do it, but technically it's feasible. So the UI can change per scene and per room. So for example, you would not going to have the same set of rings in a room where, I don't know, you author LaTeX and another where you don't. And you might have a different visual background or you might not. So
yeah, but so that logic works. But we can call it environments, or it doesn't have to be rooms. I just had to decide on something to just think. Spaces, except we call the whole thing a knowledge base.
to me, then knowledge base, it includes the HTML page, as we have indeed, but we also have a bunch of stuff around it. So for example, the backend, the server, there is a lot of work in it too. And without it, for example, the drag and drop there wouldn't work. And then it has all those like converter and filter. Because without it, yes, you wouldn't have those JSON for the content in it.
Okay, I'm very happy that fits. So the server is the foundation where you have a converter, filter, and I guess code as the thing itself. That serves up a web page. That web page displays a scene, could be more scenes. In the scene, there is a room which can have many layouts. We're giving that a name since they can be changed.
Yes.
I also use the term configuration, I think. Hang on.
What I think is a little bit special and different from other tools or experiments is that you have the layout of the content, but you also have the layout of the tools too. The same way that, for example, in you could have you had like a floating widgets where you put the brush and the lasso selector and this kind of things. And I think that's also quite important.
Should we call those configurations?
We can try. Do we? I think we need to spend a bit more time on it, but we also have the call at 11 or in an hour-ish. And before it, I'd like to know what's the hope for it, for the, what's the name? Tapestry discussion. What's the intent, hope? What are we doing there?
So the intent is, and obviously this is recorded and it will be public, it is to make Bob happy. And I don't know how we can do that or if we can do it, but it is maybe there are some ways of doing things in Tapestry that is actually useful for us to use in XR. Maybe the other way around. So I think the hope would be to embed one into the other, or at least to link one to the other in a useful fashion. I did see a Tapestry where he had stereo video that he asked me to test. So I loaded that in the headset and it played as stereo video. So he's definitely thinking XR.
So linking to and from will be trivial. Embedding will not be either way. But we can discuss on how, just from a technical standpoint.
But even linking, so Ted Nelson, has very special kind of links, and some academics want links to specific bits, others don't.
Yeah.
So also here, what linking means and what can be communicated in the link, like a kind of a preview, all of that can be interesting.
And do you have in mind like building a prototype in a month, in 3 months this year at another date?
I think that comes down to exactly what you, Dini, and me feel like fits. I think this is really out of scope, except if something comes up which clearly benefits what we're trying to do. So if, I think it's a relatively casual discussion today, but Bob and I are both, well, exactly like you, got to build something. So it's not just talking about the ideas around it. So I really don't know. I think it comes down a lot to your feeling. Is this exciting? Does it fit?
It is exciting, and intellectually speaking, for sure, it fits. I think it's. I mean, I'm not sure a typical academic author would rely on Tapestry for their research work. To be honest, I don't know how many do it. They might generally enjoy it. But on the technical perspective, I don't think it fits. So my intuition there would be to keep the concept or the idea of it, just the main gist, which I think is you grab a thing and you embed it, and then you spatially move it around, which is pretty close to what we're doing and why we're even using XR in the first place. So I think that part is good. It's something that I've done also before. I shared some demo on how I was making my wiki 2D and then moving parts of it around. So I think, again, that's valuable. But I was doing it on the 2D web, just like our browser window right now, not spatially in XR, because it's not possible. That's so I definitely think it's interesting. But it means if we cheat a bit, so for example, if we take a screenshot of a thing, then maybe we can play with that. And then we consider again the big picture, why they do it in the first place. And if we do this as a, hey, let's play together one afternoon, and let's have something tangible to tinker with in space, especially basically if they know everything about embedding web content more than we do, but if we know more about how to do it in XR than they do, it might be a very interesting collaboration. And also on a super pragmatic point is, I've been to Bulgaria a couple of times because I think he mentioned the developers basically in Bulgaria. It's an hour or two flight stops, so it's not particularly far, and I think it's even the same time zone. So if there is something like super fascinating, that might be also something to consider, like a hackathon or a day or two on this specifically. Inside I would also, I agree that I think it's a bit out of scope for the traditional academic authoring for the Sloan project. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, one way I look at it is because there's been so much in our group arguing this and pulling in different directions. One thing we haven't really looked at is something like Bob Horn murals. We have, but it's not at the forefront of our minds. And the Tapestry is a kind of that. So, in a sense, if we can offload some of the of our work to them and say, okay, well, we'll make it easier for our users if they have that kind of material to open it up in your system.
Yes, without flattening it, honestly challenging, but definitely, yeah, we can explore that.
Cool.
It should indeed. That's probably a better way to think about it, in the sense that they can embed 3D content without being WebXR, just being web in 3D. So basically, putting some of our current layout and even like with the emulator, like with the hands moving around for testing. So how to replay a testing scenario inside existing Tapestry. So maybe doing together today a Tapestry about the work we've been doing and including some of those as embeddings. That would definitely work. And maybe that's super useful for us and how to show the work even on the 16th. So that would be a bit too much, I think, because a bit too convoluted, but it's something we could consider.
Cool. I gotta go to my next.
Yeah.
That was useful. I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yeah. See you in a bit. Take care.
Yeah. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.